The other day, I talked about the growing concerns around the contamination in the neighborhood around the ICE facility in Portland, Oregon, as ICE continues to essentially wage chemical warfare against unarmed protesters. Pepper balls, tear gas, green gas, which is potentially like zinc chloride, and then some unknown other gases. Folks are calling them red or orange gas. I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that this is chemical warfare. They're using agents that are banned by many other countries. Our army can't use them. Portland police cannot use them. And yet ICE is using them in a residential neighborhood and next door to a school. And it got so bad that that school, the Cottonwood School, which is a publicly funded charter school in Portland, has had to move to a different location. And I've been asking for months, could the residents of that neighborhood not file for an injunction to stop this? Because I don't know if y'all aren't familiar with where the McAdam facility is. That has been rented out to ICE for a long time. If you have like a bird's eye view and the street is down here, the ICE building is here, it wraps around the corner here. Right here, right next to it, this is a school. And right here across the street, this is housing. People live here. And ICE, both from their own property, as well as if you go follow ICE out of Portland on Instagram, you can see tons of documentary evidence. ICE is on public property, the sidewalk or in the street, deploying these chemical agents. And it got so bad at the Cottonwood School next door, their playground where their school garden was had chemical agent residue, tear gas, green gas, etc., as well as pepper balls and tear gas balls that had not, exploded. And it posed a significant safety risk to the students. So over the summer, the school was looking for some kind of remedy. And I was like, where's the legal action? Where's the legal action from the city attorneys in Portland? I hope that they're exploring that avenue. So far, the city of Portland has sent the same contractor that sweeps homeless camps, Rapid Response, to hose down the area. And then they installed these catchment systems so that the toxic water doesn't get into the watershed. But the people in that neighborhood still have to breathe that gas, like literally on a nightly basis. And the school property has likewise been contaminated. And several days ago, Street Roots reported on the school's decision to move to another location instead of pursuing legal avenues for relief. And then a couple of days later, Rolling Stone and the New Republic picked up the story, and it has since gone national. And I understand why the school would be hesitant to file a lawsuit. School is about to start. It starts next week in Oregon. A lawsuit could take a prolonged amount of time. And how would the school be able to adequately clean up the grounds and keep them clean while the wheels of justice grind? Because ICE is not going to stop doing what they're doing on a nightly basis without an injunction, and even an injunction doesn't clean up the grounds. So I understand why the school felt the need to move to a different location, but there is a significant amount of controversy over their choice of location. And I ran out of time in my first video to talk about it, but I would like to share the details here because I think that they matter a lot. And I want to preface by saying I understand the school was in a really tough position. I understand they were between a rock and a hard place, and I understand that they are earnestly trying to do what is right by their students. So back in May, Cottonwood School announced that they were beginning potentially a long search for a new building, because that building has been leased to ICE for many years and they are not leaving anytime soon. And obviously the situation is just like untenable for little children and teachers. And you might say, well, what's the issue, Angela? They were able to find a new location and they got out and are getting settled there before the 2025 school year begins. That's best for all of the students. You're not wrong, but let me just quote a little bit here from this section of the article by Street Roots. With the start of the school year fast approaching, school leaders, building owners, and the city's permitting bureau need to move quickly. Cottonwood told parents it had two options if they wanted to start the school year as scheduled. First, it could move to the Bridges building off of Nadeau Parkway, 1 mile north of Cottonwood's current location. The Bridges building was formerly the site of a middle school, so it's obviously perfectly set up for school students to move in there. And it's close, only a mile away. The second option would be for them to move all the way to North Portland, to a building that is owned by Portland Public Schools. The risk then is that they will lose a number of their students because it's no longer now a neighborhood school. The school actually did a survey, and a lot of parents said, if you move all the way to North Portland, we will disenroll from your school. Because it's a publicly funded charter school, they can do that. So the city decided to help expedite the permitting to allow them to move to the Bridges building 1 mile away. The city has decided to allow that under the condition that necessary seismic upgrades will be addressed after an evaluation later this fall. Right, for those of y'all who don't live here, we're in the Cascadia subduction zone. Schools all over the Pacific Northwest are working on seismic upgrades to protect our students in the event that the big one happens. Again, you might be like, Angela, what's the problem? They're moving just 1 mile away. This is the most convenient option for the families who use this school. It's not going to be nearly as expensive as renting that location that Portland Public School owns in North Portland. Yeah, well, this is where the catch comes in. Again, I understand the school was put in a difficult position. The sun is going down. Give me a second to turn my light on. Okay, I realize that didn't require a second for you, but it did for me. So the issue here is, who owns the Bridges building? Good question, and this is where Street Roots reporting is so important. The building is owned by local real estate company Lindquist Development, which also owns the building that ICE leases on Macadam Avenue. Stuart Lindquist, the company's president, struck a protester with his Mercedes-Benz outside of the ICE facility in 2018. He later threatened to fight anti-ICE protesters in an interview with the Willamette Week about the incident. Some Cottonwood staff and board members fear that Lindquist could allow ICE agents into the building where students are in classes, according to sources who spoke with Street Roots on the condition of anonymity. Right, because we know that Donald Trump rescinded a policy that had been in place since 2011, I believe, that forbids ICE from going into schools. And I guess there's legitimate concern that Lindquist, the landlord, might allow ICE onto property that he owns. The school's newsletter said, Cottonwood acknowledges that this may be a complex and sensitive issue for some members of our community. We want to honor those perspectives and are open to hearing your thoughts. At the same time, after much consideration, we know that our choices are limited, and this remains an option for a short-term solution where we can carry out our mission while we strengthen the school's financial footing as it moves towards securing a long-term home. The school's website says that their mission is to provide a learning environment where students develop a sense of place and become stewards of the natural world and active citizens within our community. So back on July 7th, parents submitted testimony to the city for their Community and Public Safety Committee hearing, asking the city to revoke the permit for the ICE facility. I talked extensively about why that's not so easy, y'all. The city council can't just revoke a permit. This is a land use issue. Parents said things like, recently when picking up at the end of the school year, there were masked ICE employees driving around to intimidate protesters. This is scary for school children. It is traumatizing for kids to be trying to learn next door to what's going on at the ICE facility. We should not have to choose between educating our children and protecting them from harm, another parent said. Now, several weeks ago, when a woman in Texas made a video saying that the mayor of Portland was going to revoke the permit for ICE, I fact-checked that video and I said, y'all, that's not how that process works. That instead, someone needs to many somebodies need to file complaints with the city. And while I'm not an attorney, it seems like this would fall under a nuisance complaint. That could be filed by protesters, residents across the street, the school, anybody in Portland. But at the time I made that video, there had been 0 complaints, and I urged folks, go and file a complaint. According to Street Roots, as of July 21st, 2 complaints had been filed, alleging violations of the conditional use of that facility. If y'all want to stop this, you have to start filing complaints. You have to use the designated pathways. We have to take every avenue to try to get relief from what ICE is doing in Portland. And to demand that the city do something that's simply not legal when you have not attempted to pursue those legal pathways, I find frustrating. But getting back to the school itself, and this is what the rumblings are around town, is that it doesn't look good. The appearance is not so great. When the question is, why is the school not pursued litigation or some other measure to get relief? Is there a conflict of interest when the owner of the ICE building offers them a new place to go? Is that conditional on them not pursuing any legal action against him or against ICE? The optics of that situation are not great. And again, I know the school has been put in a really difficult position. But there are folks at the school and in the community who are rightly concerned that a school whose mission is to be active citizens within our community is not pursuing justice against ICE, nor the landlord, but is instead moving into a building that he owns. So we'll see how this story develops. But it's not a great situation for the kids, the residents, the watershed, the protesters, and the city of Portland.